Now, that brings us to the suits. And again, the biggest complaints that I have heard about this deck in terms of what I'm going to talk about is the big borders. There's no borders with this and the artwork really is gorgeous. Now, you may not like graphic style, but these really are gorgeous images. Really well done. And so these are borderless and full, beautiful images. And then we have these big borders in the minors that are restricting that image down to a small thing. So understandably, that's going to, normally that would annoy me too. However, there's something I quite like about this. I'm going to zoom back so we can show the aces because they are particularly gorgeous. I don't know. There's something that's in keeping with the graphic style to have that there. I do love the vintage kind of like mustard yellow instead of bright yellow, more of a teal blue than a bright blue, a more muted olivey green, more burgundy red, or you know, it's just not like primary colors. That is really gorgeous, and you see that. So you can see right here when you fan this out, that is the palette that moves across the whole deck. And I do think that's very unifying, even though you have very different, right? I also think that in a large reading, you're going to really see your minors, the elements that are in play, and your majors all going to stand out beautifully, which we'll see when we lay the cards down. So while I am not a fan of big borders like this at all, there's something about this that I'm okay with so far. And the fact of the matter is, it's just something you're stuck with. There's no way to trim this to take that away. So you just have to accept it as being part of the deck. I do think it was done in a mindful manner. I think it was done purposefully. And so I'll work with that. But look at these. How gorgeous are these aces? We have the traditional wands, swords, cups, and coins. We have, look at this, it says, fire my spirit. It says to will. Air my breath. Again, it uses yellow for air, which is what a color association I use. Air my breath to dare. Water my, does it say blood? Yep, water my blood to keep silent. Interesting. And it says, earth my body to know. How interesting that is that. We also can see, well, here's the air sign, the water sign, the earth sign here, and then the fire symbol here. We have pieces of armor or helmets along the different types of helmets along the top. We have shields, kind of a shield here with a coin, a shield with a cup, a shield with a sword and the crown. Here we have a wand kind of crossing in lots of hands with some symbols, other symbols going on. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful aces. I quite love them. Just visually, I think they're gorgeous. Okay, so let me put these back in the order of the book in case I want to refer. We have wands, swords, cups, and coins, which I quite love because that is how I put them. Because geomantically, we have fire as the head, air as the throat, water as the body, and then the green or earth as the feet. So, love it. Okay, let me zoom back in. Sorry, but I'm really enjoying this deck. I have a feeling this is going to have to be split up, but that's okay. Okay, I will try to speed it up with the minors, right? So here we have the wands, obviously rimmed. We've talked about the borders. I'm not going to keep harking on it. It is what it is. We still have messages even in the minors. So here we have the two of wands with the traditional. You see the wands on either side. Very traditional imagery there. Oh, look at the three of wands. We have this male. We have this female. We've definitely got text that Kelly wants to know. We've got the birds surrounding her. I love, again, loving the females in beautiful dresses that are bare feet. That's a personal favorite thing for me. So let's do an example of the minor arcana. We have the Three of Wands, enterprise, restless creativity. A woman looks at us over her shoulder. She is lithe and confident. A small flock of birds circles around her head. In the distance, a flotilla of ships is coming back into dock. Some people, like the woman here, have the golden touch. Those are her ships, and they've come back from the far side of the world laden with gold. She's a .com millionaire, a startup wizard. I really love, can I just say, of the little I've read so far, I love the voice of this author. So the author is Andy Letcher. And this is about traditional English magic, right? And you definitely get that feel, but yet he's got a really modern flair to his word choice that just is beautifully done, I think. She's a .com millionaire, a startup wizard. Now that she's floated her company on the stock exchange, she's ready to start on her next big idea. The circling birds suggest she's got plenty and everyone will turn out to be a golden goose. Looking at this woman's face, I think it's not actually the money that motivates her. Expressing her vision and seeing her ideas become reality is the reward she seeks. Manifestation of our creative vision is how we change the world. The money simply means she has the freedom to be yet more creative. She's a true creative firebrand. Now, I will say that I have read some disparaging comments on this deck because of the queens and the possibility that the authors of this deck don't have good experiences with women. I've seen that in a couple things that I've read. I will say that so far, and I understand what they're saying about the queens, and we'll talk about that when we get to it. But we've also seen really strong representations of women. That is gorgeous. The Empress, strong and beautiful. The Lover, very poignant and beautifully done here. The Strength card, gorgeous depiction here. Beautiful there. Strong, gorgeous, various ages, and I love her face. Just looks like an average woman here. In the Justice card. So I have to say, beautiful Zen, can't see her face, but beautiful Zen star card or Temperance card. We don't know what's going on here. I definitely feel so far, other than, and then this one, where I'm seeing very strong representations of women and men here. So whether the queens are depicting, is what I understand, more of the negative aspect of the queens or not, I wouldn't say that is something that carries throughout the whole deck, which we'll see when we get more to it. But I just wanted to point that out because I think this is a very strong representation of a powerful, creative, and enterprising woman. So I love that. Here we have the Four of Wands with the celebration. I love the falling confetti and flowers, and that's really beautifully done. I'm, again, trying to speed it up a little bit. The Five of Wands, a ridiculous disagreement, because here we have what's going on in this fight. He's fighting off all these squirrels. The Six of Wands, victory, success, and good news. Again, we do still have, we've got like flowers here. We've got, it looks like all of, even the minor arcana have these hidden messages. Now, I don't see it in this one. Oh, there's stuff, yep, there's stuff going on in there. There's stuff going on here. I really want to know what those stand for. I know I'm repetitive, but there we go. Here we have the Seven of Wands, power from within, self-belief in the face of opposition. Standing, I love all the roses, right? There's lots and lots of roses. And this is a woman here. It says, Six of Wands fly like missiles towards a woman. She holds a seventh and like a Jedi. Can we not just love this? Like a Jedi is about to knock the others for six. She's no light on her feet as she looks like she's so light on her feet she looks like she's dancing. One casual sweep of an arm will send those wands flying. She's brushing them off like flies. We all need to deal with the slings and arrows that are dealt by others. It happens all the time. Think of how even the most innocent of comments on social media can provoke a storm. This card says that if you have the courage of your convictions, if you can give a good account of yourself, then none of the incoming missiles will hit their target. It's only when self-doubt comes into play that we buckle. The blows rain down, and before we know it, we're on our knees before the baying crowd. This is really awesome. I love this guidebook. I'm definitely going to read the whole thing. He's got a wonderful flair for writing and a wonderful mixing of this very medieval Old English feel to it, and at the same time it mixes in the modern that feels perfectly well at place. I love it. Eight of Wands, a dangerous acceleration. A man has been tripped up by a big cat and all his wands are flying into the air. He's desperately trying to catch some before they fall. You can still go with that grabbing as well, right? But there's definitely some different plays on this. In terms of the reading, it says your creative energy is going to waste. It needs grounding to bring to fruition. Settle on a project. So reach out and grab the one you're going to settle on, which still works with how I read the Eight of Wands. Love it. Here we have the Nine of Wands as defense, raising of a siege, defensiveness. He looks very strong and piratey. Look at his face and his hair. And we've got the stags over here. They say that a man's home is his castle. This English man's home is a castle, and he's successfully defended it against a siege. There's another saying from the poet John Donne, no man is an island. Here it's rather apt, for while we may need to defend ourselves from time to time, we can't live without contact with others. I really like the layers going on in his writing. Love it, love it. Ten of Wands, struggle, responsibility, burden, refusing to delegate. Oh, do we not love this Page of Wands? A woman is riding some kind of deer effortlessly and at full tilt. There's a burning wall before them, but they're going to clear it in one giant leap. Look at this. The Page of Wands is having the time of her life. The identity of the animal she's riding is not entirely clear. A deer perhaps, but whatever it is, she's flying. The wind is racing through her hair. She's exalted. If we only get one chance, then boy, she is taking it. Oh, I love it. Again, strong female, young female character here. Here we have the Knight as being a little hot-headed, recklessness, passion. So from what I understand, the court cards are a little bit more on the negative. If you read it, they're a little bit more on the negative characteristic traits, much like you'll see in cartomancy, kind of harking back to cartomancy. You don't have to use that. I, of course, use it for energy, and look at the energy between those two. Love it. Here we have the Queen. She does look a little downtrodden a bit, but I can use the energy of the Queen. She says unnecessary drama and narcissism. So a queen stands on some kind of stage. She's wearing a magnificent dress and looks as if she's about to issue a decree. So this is somebody creating drama, if you read this. But he says, right at the beginning, look, this is just how he interprets this. You need to figure out what it is that's good for you and run with it, right? Don't let that, get your knickers in a bundle. He's using words like kerfuffle. Some people just can't help themselves but create kerfuffle. I love that. I'm going to have to use that very often. Stop creating so much kerfuffle. So yeah, I can work with this. The courts for me don't really, in some ways it doesn't even matter to me what her images are on the court cards, because I really am able to just run with it. But this doesn't stop me. She looks dramatic. She's on a stage, creativity, expressing creativity. I can definitely work with that Queen. No problem. I need to go turn off my computer. Same thing here. We have the King of Wands. The deck definitely, the book definitely in self-interest. He definitely has that idea of the dandy, somebody who is really, interested in self and looking in the mirror. But, I can just take that as the King of Wands. I don't personally use the cartomancy style of looking at the court as actual people. Could they sometimes show up as actual people? Sure. But that's not my default setting. My default setting is energetically, because I really work with numerology as well as the elements. The courts are really telling me how is that element moving, and the kings have very specific movement, energetic movement for me. So that's not going to stop me. I very rarely, like I said, after reading a guidebook, I don't go back to it a lot. So yes, if somebody was coming to this straight, and I wouldn't truthfully recommend this as a beginner's deck. I think it's, so far, I'm really loving this deck. But is it for a beginner? Possibly not. I think, again, probably having a firm, solid understanding of the traditional meanings will help you to appreciate what the artists are doing here, but still be able to then go about your business and read it as you can, because there's still just a king sitting here. That takes us to the sword suit, which I love the mustardy yellow color here. Here we have a very gorgeous Two of Swords. Very traditional looking. Again, writing going on there. Interesting Three of Swords. We have three people jabbing a sword into... It does talk about this being in the mind, but there is also the idea of the swords being very difficult, which we get in cartomancy. Three soldiers press their swords into an oak tree stump. The stump is heart-shaped. It's raining and a horrible sickly heart hangs in the sky. So definitely not a happy feeling here, right? But you could also ask yourselves, okay, why are these people, are they going to leave their swords behind and now move into it? Life has been difficult. They've been in battle, and now they're going to have growth of the mind and start to go in a different direction. There's a lot of the ways in which you could read this without reading, because they definitely have this as ruthlessness, despotism, sorrow. Like, this is not a happy card, right? But I could actually read with this because it is a moment of learning from a difficult situation, and now they're going to have some growth in the mind and stick their swords back in. Arthur pulled it out from the stone. They're sticking it back in the tree stump and going to move in a different direction. So, you go with what works for you. Love this Four of Swords. It almost has a Marseille feel, even though we've obviously got a knight here. Rest from strife, or the sleeping knight. And again, they go into lots of interesting connections between old lores and legends and that type of thing, which I quite love. Here we have the Five of Swords with a headless man holding his head here. The ghost of a decapitated man haunts his place of execution. This is about defeat. This is about at what cost, right? Because that's kind of what the Five of Swords in the Rider-Waite-Smith tradition asks, is at what cost? So the battle is won, but was the price worth it? I'm sure this ghost is asking that question. So yeah, I mean, to me, this is quite traditional Rider-Waite-Smith. I can certainly work with it. There is a disruption in the mind. Clearly, his head is not connected to the body. I do love it. Here we have the Six of Swords, a journey to the underworld. I quite like that. He is in an underground lake here, which I quite love. So this, it could actually be the Hermit, it says. Yeah, I quite like that Six of Swords. Here we have the Seven of Swords. Again, that idea of theft, but we don't know what's going on. What's happening here? Is he up to no good? Is he, to me, it's all about, okay, we don't know the whole story. We've got to figure out what's going on in this situation. Beautiful Eight of Swords, because how strong is she? See, this is what I'm saying, is I feel like, yes, the queens, but so are the kings. So far, what I've skimmed, the king is also being kind of shown as a negative character. We also have the two, we have very positive so far. The queen, you have the Page of Wands was very positive and strong, and then you have the Queen, which still works. But I definitely don't see this as being at all negative towards women. She is pulled up one of the swords, and she's getting ready to take care of the situation. Very strong. Nine of Swords. I really like the way that the swords are configured to almost be pippish. That's kind of cool. I love the interspersed birds here. This is about worry. This is about, in this card, is about worry and anxiety. And he's sleeping here, but he's sort of having a nightmare. But again, it's that idea, I can work with this because I've worked with Rider-Waite-Smith for a while, that sometimes our mind is very powerful and can blow things out of proportion, both positive and negative, and we've got to kind of wake ourselves up and kind of see the situation as it really is. Of course, 10 of Swords. We have martyrdom. A man falls through the sky, pierced by 10 swords. But there is dawn and a beautiful sunrise in the horizon. The version of this card in the English Magic Tarot is more ambiguous. It talks about then the traditional dead person on the ground. You can certainly read it in the traditional way as someone or something that's been, in some sense, killed by reason and the mind. A plan has been foiled, an idea or reputation utterly discredited. But because of the angle from which we're viewing the scene, it's not clear that the swords have actually pierced the man. Is he falling to a soft landing in a lake or being carried up to the heavens? There's a beautiful sunrise on the horizon that suggests that all is far from lost. So I quite like that, actually. And look at the Page of Swords. I love the pages as women. She sits on a stationary horse. A town lies ahead. She's looking anxiously over one shoulder and raising her sword as if expecting to be attacked. But so she's definitely looking out. I just like her. She looks strong. She's on a horse. She's got her sword out. She is keeping an eye on things behind her. She's, you know, that sort of new, fresh energy, and she's looking all around her, actively engaged in her landscape. Beautiful Knight of Swords. He is off, right, to save the day. Now, they have head and heart at odds, reason ignoring emotion, but he definitely looks like that. The book equates him with Captain Kirk, that idea of he acts without thinking and muddles through, whereas Spock was really logical and detached and acts without emotion, right? And so you kind of get those two depictions, maybe between the wands and the swords, acting with too much thought and not enough emotion. So I quite like it. Now, she is the description of the Queen of Swords is hurt, cruelty, and cutting off your nose to spite your face. Now, thankfully, her nose is not actually cut off. She looks very crabby, and actually, she doesn't look so much crabby as she looks like a man. But you can see a portrait of her apparently back here from years ago where, you know, she had this promise of life, but life has created this person. But this can also be that reminder that says, you know, to use our pain to create more empathy and compassion, not to cause us to become embittered. So I can certainly work with this. And again, it's simply the Queen of Swords. Is it my favorite depiction of the Queen of Swords? No. Again, not fond. I love the artwork in this deck. Not overly fond of this because it doesn't truthfully look like an embittered woman. It really does just look like a man. Which I guess is okay if you want to kind of mess with gender ideas, although we don't see that in the rest of the deck. So, yes, the court cards definitely, even the King of Swords, the price of success, the cruel logic of revolution, the idea of the negative side of war, right? But again, it's the king. We can work with this however we choose to work with it. So I'm okay with the courts. I can work with just about any court card. Okay, so now we're down to the Suit of Cups, which again, love the ace here. Here we have, I'm going to try to speed this up. I really have a feeling this is long because I'm reading a lot from the book because I quite like his voice. Again, we've got the ohms going around here. We have the Three of Cups. I love this kind of mastery in terms of painting that's going on here. But there's also joy and merriment. Oh, I see. He's the painter. There's things to work on, but also you want to enjoy life as well. Again, I'm just kind of going to try to speed through these a little bit better. The Four of Cups. Again, doesn't look bored though. It looks like he's actively working on something at least. But this, they have the Four of Cups as secrets, lies, and deceit. I certainly never have seen the Four of Cups in such a way. This is kind of the spy master, so to speak. Again, this isn't meant to be a strictly traditional reading. We've entered into this world. And so you can either fully embrace the world and read it as is, or, you know, work with what it says to you yourself, which is exactly what he recommends at the beginning of the book. So while no, I don't think that the Four of Cups stands for secret, lies, and deceit, that is something that you can choose to work with or choose not to work with. But I definitely wouldn't, you know, because of these shifts and changes, I wouldn't recommend this as a novice, which it does say on the back of the box. Good for novices. I don't know where, somewhere I read that on here. It would be good for people who are well steeped in tarot as well as novices. I would disagree with that particular statement, but it's a lot of fun. Here we have the Five of Cups, loss, the acceptance of the way things are, and compassion, quite beautiful. The Six of Cups here for happiness and joy, pretty nostalgia, pretty typical here. Choices and consequences in the Seven of Cups. Abuse and corruption in the Eight of Cups. Now that's quite different, right? A priest shuffles through the cloisters of an old building. A young boy carries the man's train. His head is cowed. Seven cups hang in the air. So this is about institutions. So this is very, very different. Now, Rex, it says, drew clouds in the right-hand archway as a symbol of hope and a possibility of escape. The artist, or the person who colored it in, mistook it for cracks in the walls. Either way, it's a reminder that even the most entrenched of institutions will eventually fall. So in this, we had one artist who did the line art, and then the other artist brought his own interpretation to the card through color. Which you don't often see, right, that two different artists, one with the color and one with the drawing. So it made some interesting things. But I have never heard of the Eight of Cups as about abuse and corruption. I have an idea that may be more to do with, I don't even think I've heard of that with the Eight of Hearts. I'll have to look that up. But you definitely have someone who is going off, right? It's time, just made his plans and things. Now it's time to move off and get going. So that's quite interesting. I'll have to set with that. That's the only one so far that I find like the imagery would really block me, as well as perhaps, I mean, I still could work with the Four of Cups, but that's definitely very different imagery than we're used to. I'm just kind of setting those aside. Here we have the Nine of Cups for marriage and happiness, the Ten of Cups for success and completion. Beautiful, again, Page of Cups here, intense feelings and psychic experiences with ghosts and stuff and spirits in the background. The Knight of Cups, intense feelings that are difficult to own. He's acting a little bit spoiled here. Yeah, not too fond of the three cards so far that I'm not that fond of, along with the Queen of Swords. But still, again, I can work with the court. Queen, again, not very fond of her face. Not fond. It does say compassion for the Queen of Cups, but it also has self-loathing and insobriety. So we have a drunk Queen of Cups here. That's not good, but I can ignore that. And then we have, again, the King of Cups as balance, but also emotions contained. So he's actually bringing containment, as a king should be, to the cups. So I have to say, of the suits that we've looked at so far, the cups are my least favorite, just because there's some very different cards there. Although, again, I still can, I have to work my way around cards in Rider-Waite-Smith-based cards, all the time. And so I certainly can do the same here. Ace of Coins. Two of coins, that traditional balancing going on. This is an astronomer, which I quite like. Very powerful Three of Coins here. He is about art and architecture. A man stands in a cathedral with his arms raised in a strange geometric pose, one that suggests a knowledge of harmony and proportions. That's pretty cool. The Four of Coins for practical skill and estimation. A man paces out the length of something. He holds 4 coins that bob behind him like balloons. He's getting the measure of things. He's using his feet to pace out the distance, not a ruler. He's walking a kind of endless scroll, which suggests he's learning by doing. Very interesting. You can still say this is a time to hold on to your resources, which is how I read the Four of Coins, right? Here we have the Five of Coins, charity, generosity. So we have somebody who's, these are, you know, definitely that typical Five of Pentacles, but we actually see the person who is going to help. The Six of Coins we actually have as extortion. I have another deck like this where we have the bag being sliced open. I think it's the Heart and Hands tarot. The Seven of Coins here, material success, the reaching of goals. She looks very successful. The Eight of Coins, material success from, you know, mastering what you're going to master, as this artist has mastered things. The Nine of Coins here we have is the good life, having everything that you need for success. And then the Ten of Coins is that sense of, you know, complete success, celebrity. She has attendance and people cheering her on. It's just that, you know, everything's coming up roses or grapes. Here we have the Page of Coins. Again, a woman taking off her mask. A woman is being thrown from her horse. Her clothes are falling away item by item. Okay. It was psychologist Carl Jung who suggested we all possess a persona that we wear like a mask, our public face, the acceptable side of ourselves that we present to the world. Masks have an extraordinary power. It's not so much that they possess us, it's more that we possess them. The same is true of our persona. We come to possess them, and many even believe we are our personas. But as every performer knows, the mask must come off at the end of the show. Very interesting. I'm really interested to read this book again from cover to cover. Interesting, we have the Knight of Coins with books, right? A bookish man sits on a horse studying a volume whose cover reads yes and no. So we have him not moving, right? The Coins is a more solid horse. It doesn't move very fast, but he's literally not moving. Very interesting. He's bogged down. Very powerful Queen of Coins. Probably my favorite looking. I like the Queen of Wands as well. A powerful woman sits on a throne while her servants bring her piles of scrolls. Very much power dynamics. The mistress, she's definitely in control. I definitely have a bent card here, which I don't particularly like, but again, I did pay $5. Hopefully it doesn't mean that the cards are going to be more easily bendable. And then the King of Coins in the bookshelf. So again, very interesting with the King of Coins. The Alchemy, the Study of Magic, the Book of Nature. This one is one of the strangest cards in the pack, the author writes. A man sits in a library that's open to the skies. The floor appears to be a lake of gold. The man is writing feverishly, or perhaps given the way he's holding his copybook, he might be sketching or composing sigils. Maybe he's an alchemist. All these alchemical symbols make my head spin. Our alchemist king has acquired a lot of books and is seemingly no closer to elevating the base metal of his soul, turning it into gold, of course. The king of the element of earth needs to remember that if the answer lies in a book, it's the book of nature, and he is the key. If I were him, I'd go and watch the sunset. I've got a feeling it's going to be stunning. It talks about the need to ground intellectual study into the practical action of earth. So I can see how you could get there, but definitely seeing books makes me think of the sword suit. But that's, you know, again, another bent card. So these two are bent. My guess is that because they were reversed to each other, that's how this deck came, one in one way and one in the other way. And so my guess is that in the thing it must have gotten kind of, it would have been like this and got that edge got bent up a little bit. But it's not terribly bad, and it's not for me worth sending the deck back for. But there we have. Interesting. I'm not sure how I'm going to approach this. If I'm going to approach it from, you know, for a little while, I'll probably play with it and look the meanings up and just see how it reads in the worldview that it has been put in. A lot of people will say, you know, you need to honor the view of the, I'm going to try to change the color here because right now we've got it being extra cool. People will say, you know, you need to honor the intent of the creator. But when the creator itself says, hey, don't be held bound by my interpretations, this is just where I'm coming at things, then, you know, I feel like I do it anyways, to be honest. But that's like that pure heads up that says, hey, make it your own. Figure out what this is saying to you. And there's a lot of wonderful things to explore, I think, in this deck to really start to think of new ways of looking at the cards. But where something doesn't work with you, always in any deck, be prepared and be okay with making it your own and coming up with your own conclusions and resorting to your real, if you have a real strong understanding of a particular card, you don't have to, you know, give that up. I have to, like I said, being more of a numerological and elemental reader in yet many decks based on the Rider-Waite-Smith, I've had to, you know, say, yes, I see what we have going on here, but numerologically XYZ, and then kind of going into, and I've never had a problem with that. I've never had anybody complain about it. It works. So be comfortable enough in, and that's why I would say this would not be for a novice, though, is because I think you do have to be comfortable with your understanding of the cards before diverging. That's just general, you know, learning rules. Kind of learn the baseline, and then go off and run off in other directions and see what these directions have to say. I actually quite like the way that this shuffles. It feels like Llewellyn cardstock, the new Llewellyn. It's a little bit cardboardy. It's got a little slight roughness to the back and a very good smoothness to the front. It's not glossy. It's not completely matte. There's a little sheen, but it's lovely. It shuffles really nice. So I don't think it's like fantastic cardstock, but it's also good. I think good cardstock. That's just such a subjective thing, though. Everybody has so much individual ideas about cardstock, but for me, as a rifle shuffler, that rifle shuffles well. It does do that little bit. I don't know if you're going to be able to hear it. It's got a little clicky bend to it that not the best ever, but truthfully I have some really good decks like the Bohemian Gothic that can do that as well. So I don't know if you can hear that. So that's kind of, for an overhand shuffler, I don't think you'd ever even pay attention to that. It's just when you go to rifle shuffle, there's a little bit of a resistance, and then it pops and then goes into the shuffle. But again, I find it to shuffle really nice. I quite like it. So let's take a look at this. We're going to try see one of their spreads. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. If there's time, I will do another video doing that, because I really do believe that. So just to wrap this particular one up, I'm just going to lay the cards out so we can see what's going on here. Because I do want to try this spread out, but that's going to take some maneuvering on my table. So for right now, let's just see how this looks. in a spread. What's going on in the present, the past, the future, the position of, for me, of fire, the position of air, air in air, position of water, the position of earth. And we have what's going on above and what's going on below. So you can see that we can really have the major arcana standing out as to what's, we've got 3 major arcana. We can clearly see air, wands, and cups standing out really clearly. We can very much see minors, the proportion of minors to majors. Because of those borders that many of us, if it's a whole deck was that, we might be inclined to chop it off. Although chopping it off is not obviously possible here. Now, the other thing that may bother some people is that you will see that the actual square here is not centered. So you can see here it's much more narrow and then it widens. The image is kind of cocked. Now, my guess is that that's probably could be deliberate because it kind of appears to be. For me, and it, also at the top here, this top has more, there's less border down here, whereas on this one we have the border is less on the top and a little bit more even here actually, but still cocked. Now, this does not, generally that bothers me. This doesn't bother me so much because I really do feel like I'm looking at comic book frames. And so it's not so bothersome. Personally, if I had my choices, the whole deck would have been like the majors because I think that's stunning. But at the same time, I do like the way we visually see the proportion of majors to minor, and we very quickly and clearly see the proportion of the elements that are going on in the suit. So, so there's pros and cons there. But all in all, I'm thrilled with this deck. Now, again, I only paid $5 for it on the U.S. Amazon, with Prime, so I had paid no shipping. I literally paid $5, I think in 33 cents, maybe with tax, I guess, but it was just over $5 for the whole deck, and so I am absolutely thrilled with this deck. There are differences here. We do have a little bit of that old cartomancy flair, I feel like, in the some of the meanings and the makeups here. But I think that you can really do a lot with this card, either, embracing the system fully as it is, or in working with it yourself and what it says to you. I quite like, especially the majors. I'm quite intrigued by some of the majors. I really am intrigued by some of the minors as well. So I will check back with you after I get a chance to use this a little bit more, because after I read the book from cover to cover, I will try to come back and do a second video doing an actual reading with this, and researching a little further if we can find out what these hidden meanings are that are in the cards. So we'll see. I hope that you enjoyed this. I will put a link to the Amazon. I don't know how long it's going to be available for that cheap. And I know from live chat that was not the case always in other countries. So really it seemed to have been just the US that was quite so cheap. But I'll put a link there if it's still available, just in case anybody else wants to pick this up for $5. Guidebook wise, again, different meanings. I would not go into this as being a Rider-Waite-Smith clone, although you can see many of the Rider-Waite-Smith images there, our symbology there, but it's not precise. They've definitely kind of embraced this world here that was going on in this time period, which they speak about. There's quite a good section on the history of English magic and where this took place in. I really like the tone and the style of the man of Letcher's writing, because he does blend that era as well as really brings it into the modern realm in a quite good way. I quite enjoy his voice in it. So yeah, that's what I have. The only negative I would say so far about the book, and I haven't read it from cover to cover, is that I would love to have in each of the cards had that message included in the guidebook. That's just a personal, you know, some people will love to follow this. Okay, I'm going to go try to figure out what this is. That does not appeal to me. Even though I could with the runes, like see what each of these runes are, but that doesn't appeal to me particularly. I would love to have had that right in the text itself. But other people, that sort of riddle and that sort of trying to find that out is something that they would absolutely love. So I don't consider that to be a downside. Just for me personally, I would like to have seen those in there. But there we go. There we have it. A look at the English Magic Tarot by Rex Van Ryn, or Ryan, Steve Dooley, and Andy Letcher.